I've always said that gardens are like people. Each has its own character, its own quirks, and its own secrets. In my 15 years as a landscape designer, I've seen hundreds of gardens, but this job changed my entire life. The day was typical for California's summer, hot and humid. I was finishing a project for another wealthy client when Emma called. "Honey, Mom wants to talk to you about the garden." I suppressed a sigh. Jasmine, my mother-in-law, was quite a piece of work. A wealthy widow used to getting everything she wanted. "I have a lot of orders right now. Please, Troy. You know how important this garden is to her." I did know. After her husband's death, the garden became her only passion. Or at least, that's what I thought then. Jasmine's mansion was impressive even by local standards. 2 acres of land in a prestigious area, and half of it was an overgrown garden requiring a professional touch. "Troy, darling." She met me at the entrance wearing a white summer dress that would better suit a woman half her age. But damn, she could pull it off. At 50, Jasmine looked stunning. "Mrs. Clark?" "Oh God, drop these formalities. Just Jasmine. We're practically family." She led me through the garden, telling me about her vision. Her hand would occasionally touch mine when she pointed to another area requiring attention. "I want a rose garden here." She stopped by an empty flower bed. "Something passionate, fiery. Maybe tea roses. They're more—" "No," she shook her head. "Red ones. Dark red, like blood." There was something in her voice. Intense. I swallowed. "All right, anything else?" "Jasmine, of course," she smiled. "Lots of jasmine. I love its aroma in the evenings." By the end of the inspection, I had a rough estimate and a strange feeling in my chest. "When can you start?" she asked, walking me to my car. "I have another project right now. I'll pay double the usual rate." I looked at her. Mischievous sparks danced in her eyes. "And that's just the beginning, darling." At home, Emma asked, "Well, will you take it?" "Yes," I replied, thinking about the strange gleam in her mother's eyes. "Looks like this will be an interesting project." I had no idea just how interesting. Work began in early June. Jasmine insisted I come early in the morning, before it gets too hot. But even at 7 a.m., the California sun was already heating the air to indecent levels. "Coffee?" She appeared beside me as I was marking out the future rose garden, in a light silk robe with a cup in her hands. "Thank you." Our fingers touched when I took the cup. Goosebumps ran across my skin. "How's it going?" She sat down on a garden bench, crossing her legs. "Not bad. The soil here is excellent. Yes, my late husband took care of that. He generally liked to take care of things." There was some bitterness in her voice. I involuntarily looked up. "Everything okay?" "Of course," she smiled. "Just memories. You know, sometimes I feel like this garden is the only place where I can be myself." She started coming every morning, bringing coffee, sometimes homemade pastries. We talked about plants, about life, about dreams. "Why landscape design?" she asked one day, helping me plant roses. "I love creating beauty." "And breaking women's hearts?" She gave me a playful look. "What?" "Come on, Troy, you know what I mean. Such a man, working with flowers. I'm sure clients are thrilled." I felt myself blushing. "I'm a professional." "Oh, I don't doubt that." Her hand accidentally touched mine as she passed me a seedling. "An absolute professional." At home, Emma noticed. "You smell like jasmine." "I'm working in your mother's garden, remember?" "Yes, how is she?" "Fine. Talks a lot about the garden." "Just about the garden?" I looked at my wife. Something like suspicion flashed in her eyes. The next day, Jasmine met me wearing gardening gloves and a straw hat. "Decided to help, do you mind?" I did mind, but couldn't explain why. Especially when she bent over the flower bed, her hair falling on her face, and her dress outlining her figure. "Teach me," she asked, holding out a jasmine sprout. "What's the right way?" I stood behind her, guiding her hands, her back pressed against my chest, and I could smell her perfume. Sweet, intoxicating. "Like this," my voice was hoarse. "Gentle, but firm. Like with a woman?" She turned her head slightly, and I saw a smile on her lips. I stepped back, feeling my heart racing. "I'll go get more seedlings." Her laughter caught up with me at the greenhouse. "You can't run from yourself, darling." And she was right. Damn right. By mid-July, the garden began to transform. The roses were gaining color. Jasmine was weaving through the new trellis. The air was filled with fragrances and tension. "It's going to be hot today." Jasmine came out to the terrace in short shorts and a top. "Maybe we should start earlier?" I tried not to look at her tanned legs. Sure. We were working on the rock garden. She constantly found herself next to me, supposedly helping with the stones. Her hand kept touching mine, and her breath tickled my neck. "You know," she said, wiping sweat from her forehead, "there's something primitive about this. Earth, stones, man and woman. Jasmine—" "What?" She smiled innocently. "I'm just thinking out loud." By noon the heat became unbearable. "Come." She pulled me by the hand. "I have lemonade." It was cool in the gazebo. She poured 2 glasses. "To our garden." "It's not ours yet." "No." She moved closer. "I think we have a lot in common. For example, a passion for beautiful things." Her knee touched mine. I felt my mouth go dry. "I need to get back to work." "Of course." She leaned back against the bench. "But you know what, Troy? Sometimes you need to allow yourself what you truly want." "And what do you want?" She looked straight into my eyes. "You know perfectly well." We were so close. Her lips parted. Her eyes clouded. I felt myself being drawn to her like a magnet. The sound of an approaching car made us jump apart. "Damn," she whispered. "It's Emma." I darted out of the gazebo, feeling like a teenager caught by parents. My heart was pounding like crazy. "Honey?" Emma found me by the rose garden. "Decided to stop by for lunch. How's the work going?" "Great." I tried not to look toward the gazebo. "Just great." That evening, I stood in the shower for a long time, trying to wash away not just sweat and dirt, but also the memories of how close her lips had been. It didn't help. That day was particularly sultry. The air shimmered with heat, and the scent of blooming jasmine made my head spin. We were working on a new gazebo in the far part of the garden. "This will be my secret corner." Jasmine ran her hand along the wooden crossbeam. "A place where I can hide from the whole world." She was wearing a light white dress that accentuated her tanned skin. Drops of sweat glistened on her neck. "It's hot," she whispered, coming closer. "Maybe we should take a break." Her fingers touched my arm. "You have a callus. Comes with the job." Strong hands, she didn't let go of my palm. "So skilled." The air between us became thick as honey. Her eyes darkened, lips parted. "We shouldn't." My voice was hoarse. "Should and shouldn't." She moved even closer. "Sometimes you just need to feel." The first kiss was careful, almost weightless. The second, more demanding. Her lips were soft, with a taste of mint and something sweet. Reality dissolved in the aroma of jasmine and roses. Only touches, sighs, and the rustle of leaves overhead remained. Her skin smelled of sun and summer. We dissolved in this pleasure, forgetting about everything in the world. It was like plunging into cold water. Scary, but impossible to stop. Time stopped, leaving only passion and the madness of the moment. Every movement, every whisper echoed in the garden, mixing with birdsong and the whisper of the wind. Later, when we lay on the old blanket, she asked, "What are you thinking about?" "About what we've done." "Do you regret it?" I looked at her, flushed, with disheveled hair, beautiful. "No, and that's what scares me the most." She lit a cigarette, exhaling smoke into the thick air of the gazebo. "You know what's strangest? I've been waiting for this since the moment you first appeared in my garden." "Why?" "Because I saw in your eyes the same thing I felt myself, a thirst for something real." The sun was setting, painting the garden in golden tones. Somewhere in the distance, the hum of a car could be heard. "I should go." I started getting dressed. "Of course," she smiled. "Until tomorrow?" I nodded, knowing that now each day in this garden would be filled with new meaning. The garden was blooming, and along with it bloomed our secret passion. Each day turned into a sweet torture of anticipation. The gazebo became our refuge, a place where we forgot about everything. Something has changed, Emma said one evening. You're different. What do you mean? I don't know. She looked at me intently. It's like you're walking on air, and you constantly smell of Mom's garden. I work there. Until 9 in the evening, I felt my back go cold. Lots of work. Your mother is very demanding. Yes, she smirked. Mom always gets what she wants. There was something in her voice that made me uneasy. The next day, Jasmine met me with worry in her eyes. Emma called this morning, asked if there really was that much work. What did you say? That you're the best at what you do. She pressed herself against me. And that's the absolute truth. We made love especially passionately, as if sensing impending doom. Her kisses were salty with tears. What's wrong? I asked afterward. I'm afraid. She lit a cigarette, looking into the garden through the lacy gazebo lattice. Afraid of losing this. You. We need to be more careful. Need to, she laughed bitterly. You know what's most ironic? I feel truly alive for the first time, and it's with my daughter's husband. Don't. Why? Afraid of the truth? At that moment we heard footsteps on the gravel. Approaching footsteps. Mom, are you here? Emma's voice made us freeze. Jasmine quickly adjusted her dress. I grabbed the gardening tools. In the gazebo, darling. Discussing climbing Rose's design with Troy. Emma appeared in the doorway, giving us a careful look. In this heat? Best time for roses. Jasmine smiled as if nothing was wrong. They love the heat, right, Troy? I mumbled something in response, not raising my eyes. My heart was pounding like crazy. Is that so? Emma sat on the bench. Her gaze didn't miss the crumpled cushion, the half-smoked cigarette in the ashtray. Tell me more about these roses. They say all secrets come to light eventually. Ours was revealed in late August, when the garden was in full bloom. Emma called in the morning. Don't come today. I'll meet with Mom myself. There was a strange determination in her voice. Did something happen? Do you really want to discuss this? I was silent. She sighed. You know, I'm not blind and I'm not stupid. The smell of jasmine, late returns, crumpled cushions in the gazebo. Emma, just don't come today. I didn't listen. I arrived at noon when the sun was especially cruel. The garden was quiet. Only bees hummed over the flowers and wind rustled through the leaves. They sat in the gazebo, mother and daughter. A wine bottle and 2 empty ashtrays stood before them. And here he is. Emma didn't even turn. Couldn't stay away? Jasmine was silent, staring through the rose bushes. I can explain. What exactly? Emma finally looked at me. How you cheated with my mother in this gazebo? Or how you both lied to me? Emma? Jasmine tried to take her daughter's hand. No, Mom, enough. She stood up. You know what's worst? I'm not even surprised. You always loved taking what belongs to others. He's not a thing, Jasmine said quietly. No, he's my husband. A heavy silence fell. Only the wind swayed the roses, scattering petals on the ground. Was your husband? I finally found the strength to say it. They both looked at me. 2 beautiful women, mother and daughter, so similar and so different. Is that so? Emma laughed bitterly. And what? You'll live together? Play at love among the roses? No, I shook my head. I'm leaving. Today. Troy? There was pain in Jasmine's voice. This is the end. I looked at the garden that had witnessed our passion. Some flowers should never bloom. I left without looking back. Behind me, I could hear sobbing. I don't know whose exactly. Now, when I drive past luxurious gardens, I sometimes think about that summer, about the hot days filled with the scent of jasmine, about passion that bloomed among the roses, about how easy it is to lose yourself in a beautiful fairy tale. They say time heals, but there are wounds that don't heal, and gardens you'd better not return to. Did you like this story? Let us know in the comments what you liked. Subscribe to our storytelling podcast. Also, don't forget to like and ring the bell so you don't miss more interesting stories. See you soon.